All right, so now that we have the basic rundown, let's jump into this patch a little bit more thoroughly. So first of all, there's a lot going on this screen up here, and this tells you everything that is built into this patch. This patch I spent a lot of time on, and it also includes a lot of experience of just working with sound effects. And so it's pretty intricate, and we're going to kind of break this down. And it's not just how to build a patch in the Helix. This is really like how to build a setup for your own guitar rig, whether you're using stomp boxes, whether you're using a Helix like this, whether you're using other preamps like the XFX. This is kind of how you want to build out your effects, okay? So let's jump into it. First, we're going to just go stomp box by stomp box so you can hear what we have programmed, and I'll give you the order that they're programmed in, and I'll show you how you can edit them. So when I hit stomp box mode, it's just going to show me all the stomp boxes that I have programmed into this particular patch. And let's go through it. So here's our clean tone with absolutely nothing on it. No extra reverb and delays or overdrives. It does have a plate reverb on it that's acting like an amp reverb, just kind of like a real faint ambiance reverb. There's two amps that I'm using in this particular preset. I am using, and if I scroll over with this joystick, I can get to those amps right here in the menu. This one is a matchstick, so it's like a matchless amp, and I have it set pretty low drive here, so only the input drive is only going up to 2, but I have the master volume of the amp cranked, which is going to give us a little bit of bite. So if you listen, there's a little bit of bite on that. But I'm not just using one amp, I'm actually using 2 amps here. I'm also using a Fender Blues, so a Tweed Fender Blues amp, also with a low drive and a high master volume. So between those 2 amps, this is what I get. If I turn those off, you can actually hear them individually. So this is what it would sound like with just one amp on. This is just the matchless. Okay. And then this is what it sounds like, just the Fender Blues. Let me turn this off. Okay, pretty generic, pretty clean, really straightforward. I also have a graphic EQ here where I'm cutting the low end on the blues, the Fender Blues amp, and I'm boosting the mids on the matchless. And then they're running through these IRs, which you can think of as like cabs, okay? Almost like speakers. And I have them both going through 2 different speakers to kind of give us a little bit different tones, but together, when we blend it, hopefully it gives us a big full sound. So that's the main idea there with the amps. All right, now my effects. I have all of the overdrive and pitch and even modulation effects. I don't normally throw my modulation effects in one chain, but I am on this particular event. I have those running through the top chain here. And then I'm running a separate chain for my plate reverb and my delays. The reason why you do that is because you don't want to send an overdriven signal into your delays, because now you're delaying the overdrive sound, which you can't hear the delays very clearly when you do that. So in other words, this is sending the direct guitar tone just into the reverb and the delays, and then to the amp. So I'm getting, when I do that, just a nice clean delay tone. So even when I turn on my overdrive pedals, my delay stays clean, but my initial signal gets dirty. So that's a really important thing to do when you're building out guitar rigs. It's called the 4-cable method if you look it up online. I always run my delays and my reverbs through their own separate line, through the effects loop in an amp, or in this case on a preamp, I'll just send it directly from the guitar, split the line so that it runs just to the delays and the reverbs themselves. Then on the first chain, I have my overdrive pedals and some modulation pedals as well. Then at the end of my chain here, after the amps, I'm running it through one more reverb pedal. I probably wouldn't normally do this, but in worship context, reverb is huge, so I have to really get a washy sound. So after my amp after my cabs, after all of my initial delays and all my drive pedals, then I'm hitting the glitz reverb to just boost it over the top with reverb. Then it throws into a studio compressor to just kind of keep it all tight and clean. Then I have a boost at the end of my chain, just in case for like on the lead, for example, this lead one here. And whenever I need to use this boost pedal here, it happens at the very end of the chain just to give it extra volume and not so much extra gain going into the actual pedals themselves. And then I have a EQ pedal. Now the EQ pedal at the end here is all set to 0. So this is one way you guys can customize. If you're saying, okay, man, this is just too bright for my guitar, you can lower the gain on the mid frequencies here, and it will help to take away some of that, the thin quality maybe that you're having, or vice versa. You can raise the highs or the mids if your guitar is just too muddied. Okay, so I really put this EQ at the end of the chain here for you guys to be able to kind of customize it how you want. Now, you don't have to though. The reason why is because the sound man is already going to do that at the board. So I would wait, hold off, see how the sound guy EQs it first, and if it sounds good to you, stick with that. If it still is like not working and you're just not comfortable with how it is in your ears, then you can start to push those frequencies a little bit. But definitely kind of a last resort to try to get this to sound how you want it to sound. Okay, let's go through. Now that we've talked about the overflow of the chain and how the effects are put in there, let's go through and look at them. Here's my clean boost. This is literally a clean boost. So it doesn't really change the tone at all. It just changes the volume. That's all we're doing there. I like to use the clean boost on my clean channels because my clean channels tend to be lower in volume than my dirty channels because the overdrive pedals typically tend to add volume. So normally if you look at a clean preset, so if I click the clean preset, you'll see that it has the boost on. Now, if I go to my overdriven preset, it has the boost off. Again, that's because the clon is on and the clon is adding volume. So I want them to be, my clean and my rhythm to be the same volume. So I have the clean boost on when I have my clean on. Now, vice versa though, when I get over to my lead channel, I want that to be significantly louder because it is a lead channel. So I will have, not only will I have the overdrives on, I'll also have the clean boost on just to give it more volume coming out to the front of the house. All right, so that's the first one. Next, we have a clon. Okay, so the clon is a light overdrive pedal. So if I click this on now, you'll hear what it sounds like with the rest of the amps. That's pretty much it. And I'll click to my bridge so you can get a little bit more gain out of it. So that's our clon pedal right there. Real clean overdrive. If you want to see how the effects are, if you just touch this, it'll pull up a menu here. It shows me my gain is at 0.3, my tone is at 5.5, and my level's at 8. So I typically tend to write I typically tend to run transparent overdrive pedals with low gain, high output level. Same way I do my amps. Low gain on my amps, high output level. That's one of the best things too about using preamps like this is that it won't be too loud because I can control my master volume over here. So if I can push my amps high on the output level as opposed to the gain input level, it's going to be a much better tone. Same thing with my pedals. So on this one, the clone here, I'm using low gain 0.3 and I'm pushing it with the level. And that's what's giving me just a little bit of breakup. If you feel like that's not enough breakup, you could always, again, touch this and it will pull up that menu and then change the gain to how you like it. All right, let's go to our Zen drive. I love the Zen drive. There's a lot of history on this, but it's just a little bit more drive than my clon. And that's kind of how I have it set up, to be honest with you. So if I touch this, it pulls up my Dyna drive is what they call it. I have 2.2 on my gain and my level's at 7.4. So a little bit less of that level coming out, that output, but that input gain is a lot higher. The Zen drive is supposed to be a pedal that recreates the Dumble amplifier overdrive. I think Robert Ford, whenever he couldn't have his Dumble amp on stage with him, he commissioned for a boutique pedal called the Zen drive to basically recreate that. And I really like the Zen drive. So it's a great pedal to have on your pedal board. If you don't have one and you're using a preamp like this, the Dyna drive is what it is in the Helix. Axe Effects has their own version of it as well that I use in there. I can't remember what it's called, but it's man, like I forgot. But anyways, these are great pedals, the Zen Drive. It's just such a it adds like an overdriven distortion sound without it getting really dirty. But when you use that in conjunction with the Klon too, it's a great tone. So that's kind of what we get, those two together. All right, then we have an octave pedal, just an octave generator here to give us those types of lines. A lot of worship music, they typically tend to get a fatter sound by just running a octave pedal. On this octave pedal, I think it's a double generator, so I think I'm running an octave up very slightly in the volume there, and then I'm also running an octave down a little bit louder so that you actually end up getting more the low end than the high end. And that sounds great, especially in conjunction with like a Zen Drive. This is what we're going to get now from that. I love that tone. Great. Then we're going to move on to our chorus. Real straightforward. There, just a chorus sound. I have 3 delays. I want you to know how I use them and how they're set up. I have a quarter note delay, a dotted eighth note delay, and then a dual delay, which is a dotted eighth note and an eighth note delay. So this is very much like having both of these on at the same time. But this one is programmed so it's a little bit heavier. So if there's a line that needs a lot more delay, then I would use the dual delay. Otherwise, I'm either using one of these or both of them at the same time. So here's my quarter note delay. It's a slow quarter note delay. That's all it is. Here's my dotted eighth note delay. It's going to be a little bit quicker. And when you combine them together, you should get this. Checka, checka, checka. Okay. Now, this would be similar, but it's a little bit heavier. You can hear how it's got a little bit more to it, to having both of these on. This one also takes a little longer to get into the, because it's a quarter note as opposed to an eighth note added with a dotted eighth. So anyways, I like to use these in conjunction with each other. Usually it would sound like this. Okay, so those are our delays. And then this one is usually I use it for like more of like a choppier type of delay. So like, for example, Raise a Hallelujah. That's going to give me that really thick dotted eighth to eighth note delay. Reverb, this is our Glitz reverb. It's called the Glitz in the Helix. I think it's supposed to sort of I don't know. It's kind of similar to like a Strymon delay or a reverb. And then a basic tremolo here. All right, now let's talk about how I build my presets. So usually my verse presets end up being normally clean. So I'll use both of these delays plus the reverb and the boost. And that would give me this type of a tone. Sorry about that. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is for my cleaner tones, I end up actually using like a neck pickup or something that's a little bit darker sounding, as opposed to this, which is my bridge pickup. And they both sound great, but this is more mellow, this middle position here. So that's my basic sort of clean tone that I use. And then like I'll adjust it. So like some songs you gotta add some like chorus in there. So like that would give me more of this type of a tone. So that has that chorus sound that I'll use for certain songs as well. But that's the basic clean tone that I use. My generic rhythm is basically take the boost off and turn on the clon, and that's pretty much what I use. Now for this though, I will try to get a brighter tone out of my guitar, so I'll either go to the bridge pickup, or on my Gibson what I'll do is I'll use the middle position, but I'll turn the volume down of the neck pickup so that I get more of the bridge pickup. But this is too dark if I use my neck pickup. It's too dark to me. So I'll usually use, again, that bridge pickup. And it's a great tone. It's just basically a real straightforward. It's very touch sensitive. Very touch sensitive. So the harder you lay into it, the better it's going to just break up. And then usually my stage 2 is the Zen drive. So for like lead lines that aren't necessarily supposed to be in front of the music, they're just like single note lines, I'll usually use the Zen drive for, and I'll kick on again that bridge pickup, or I'll double them up sometimes. That's my stage 3, I call it. So that would be like a stage 1 would be just that, stage 2 drive would be that, and then stage 3 drive would be both of them together. And I guess you could say stage 4 would be with the boost added. And again, I use my bridge pickup for that. So no matter if I'm getting heavier in distortion, then I start to use the bridge pickup and more tone on my guitar. If I'm cleaner, then I use the neck pickup typically, or less tone, to make it a little bit more mellow and a little bit darker. So just keep that in mind too as you use these sounds. That's kind of how I think of them. That my clean is going to be a little bit more mellow. Cool, so that's kind of my main tone. So those are usually what you'll see. If you look at clean, rhythm, and lead, you'll see it built that way, where the clean is going to be the boost on but no overdrive pedal. The rhythm is going to be no boost on but stage 1 overdrive. I always have some type of a delay and reverb on. And then the lead channel, it really just depends on what the lead is supposed to be, because some leads are kind of clean sort of leads. So like I think for like Yes I Will, I would actually use instead of the Zen drive being on, I would just use the boost and the clon, and that would get me something like and I might even use the bridge. Cool. So that's kind of a rundown now that's more thorough into this patch and the actual effects that are being used on this patch. Now to edit them, I already showed you. So when you're in Stompbox mode, anything you touch with your finger is going to pull up the edit menu right here. Try not to edit the delays and the reverbs. I mean, if you want to add more reverb, you can make your decay longer or add more to your mix here. So that would be good if you're like, man, I'm just not getting enough reverb. I tend to use less reverb than most worship guitar players, but even in worship settings, I use more reverb than I would if it wasn't a worship setting. So that's just one of those things where I understand some people like to have more reverb. So again, you touch that, it pulls up the menu. You can turn up your decay and your mix, and that's going to give you more reverb. So you'll actually notice if I go to my swell patch here, and then I touch the reverb button, the decay is much longer and the mix is much higher than on my clean patch, for example, which now it shows the decay is 4 and the mix is only 22. So you can also save those as well. You can actually save anything that's in white will save to your preset as well. Now just remember, whenever you make those changes to your presets, so when you do the verse, chorus, and bridge, it will not save to the patch automatically, but it will, like when I change it in here, as soon as I go back into this mode, it will save it there. But ultimately, before you change your preset, you got to save it here. Save, and then save. If you don't push that, then as soon as you change presets, all that stuff that you did is gone. Cool, that's the rundown of this patch. Hopefully that will get you guys comfortable and get you guys running, sort of like being able to customize the way you use this pedal board on Sundays, while still giving our sound guys all the same tones every Sunday, no matter who's playing. That's the thing. Like, I don't want you to edit them too much, because I want you to keep the platform the same. Keep the amps the same. Don't edit those, you know? Don't edit your delays. and your overdrive's too much, because we want our sound guys to have the same volume every Sunday coming from this board, the same tone quality coming from this board. Really, the things that I want you to edit are like your snapshots and how you use those snapshots, which pedals are on, which pedals are off in your stomp box mode. And then you can make subtle changes to like the EQ if you need to. Again, the EQ to change would be you use your joystick, you just go over to this last box here, the yellow one, and it will give you a basic EQ. If you feel like you need to change that, go for it. If you feel like you really just need to change like an overdrive stomp pedal, then again, you can do that by touching the Klon, and you can change the settings here just like you would any other stomp box. Cool. Thanks, guys. Hopefully that helps.